أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله ثم الحمد لله الحمد لله نحمده ونستعين به ونستهديه ونسترشده ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد أيها الأخوة الكرام أوصيكم وأوصي نفسي بتقوى الله فقد قال الله تعالى في كتابه العزيز أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. Just before we begin, today is probably going to be quite a busy day, so there's quite a lot of gaps just dotted around here and there. So can I ask you to please squeeze up very tightly, so you need to start moving, but squeeze up very tightly, create some extra space and fill the spaces, any spaces that you see in front of you, please fill up the space. Just here, over here, create space. So even if you are feeling a little bit uncomfortable for the next 20-30 minutes, inshallah you will be better rewarded for that. In today's khutbah, I wanted to probably touch upon something that perhaps there's an opportunity, seeing as there are a lot of young people here today, an opportunity for us to be reminded about something. And that thing is the idea, the topic of respecting one's parents. So probably a lot of you think to yourselves, yes, I've hit the jackpot, I've brought all my children here, yes, they're all going to hear this khutbah about respecting parents, and that's exactly what they need. But actually, it goes across the board. So whether you're 5, whether you're 15, whether you're 25 or 75, if you've still got parents who are alive at that age, the khutbah applies to everybody. And pay heed. Think about everything that we say. Think about all the lessons that can be taken. And think, most importantly, about how you can apply it, rather than about how your children can apply it to you. So we'll start with the very basic idea that we all know, that in Islam, the idea of honoring one's parents is one of the greatest commands from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says, وَقَضَىٰ رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ عِنْدَكَ الْكِبَرَ أَحَدُهُمَا أَوْ كِلَاهُمَا فَلَا تَقُل لَهُمَا أُفٍّ وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا وَقُل لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, for your Lord has decreed that you worship none but Him. So what defines you as a Muslim? Just ask yourself, what defines you as a Muslim? What takes you over the line into Islam? It's your belief in the tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's the belief in the oneness, the unity of God. That there is no God but Allah, that He is unique in who He is. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. So that's what the ayah says, meaning there is nothing that is like unto Him. There's nothing that you can compare to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the ayah begins, your Lord has decreed that you worship none but Him. So the most important thing in Islam. What's the next thing that He says? Does he talk about praying? Does he talk about paying zakah, fasting? Perhaps listening or obeying the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? The next thing he talks about is وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, that you honor your parents. And whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about honoring parents, it's often coming after the belief in the unity of God, the oneness of God. In other words, the pillar of Islam, the most central pillar of Islam, following it is the honoring of one's parents. So what does that demonstrate? It demonstrates the sheer importance of this issue, this idea, that dishonoring your parents is a great sin, is a tremendously great sin. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Allah carries on, he says, إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ عِنْدَكَ الْكِبَرَ. So just take a pause here on the word عِنْدَكَ. So meaning the translation, if one or both of them reach old age in your care. عِنْدَكَ الْكِبَرَ. In other words, it's not that they're outside of your care. It's not that they reach old age and they're abandoned somewhere, nowhere to be seen, forgotten, left by themselves. No. عِنْدَكَ إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ عِنْدَكَ الْكِبَرَ. That the assumption here is that you're the one who's taking care of them. You don't leave them, forget about them, disown them. Your 5-year-old's not going to do that to you. This is to the adults here. If you are somebody who's not spoken to your mum or dad, maybe in a few months, maybe you're busy at work, you've not had the chance, maybe they're in another country, you've not had the chance to pick up the phone, that's what we're talking about. You should be keeping regular contact with them. إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ عِنْدَكَ الْكِبَرَ أَحَدُهُمَا أَوْ كِلَاهُمَا. Then Allah, and this is to maybe the younger people here, but perhaps even the older, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ. And never say to them, uff. So what's uff? Uff is kind of a sigh. It's kind of like a... So they say, beta, clean your bedroom, do your bed, you have to pick up the clothes off the floor, hang them up. Oh, Mom. Okay, it's that sigh. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, don't even do that. And Sayyidina Ali, radiallahu anhu, he said, if there's something easier for you to say, then just... If something easier for you to say than that, like it's not as hard for you to say that, then Allah would have said that. But this idea of just saying, Oof. So what about shouting at your parents? What about lying to your parents? What about, astaghfirullah, we know it happens, hitting your parents? How dishonorable, how disgraceful is that person who does that? Like, you shouldn't even say, oh. So what about hitting? What about swearing? So my work as a doctor, we see a lot of this. The parents come to us, they're in tears. And they're shattered by what their son has done to them. I spoke to somebody recently, they told me their child grabbed their arm and left a big bruise on their arm. You know, how shameful is this? And you think that this is going to lift you in the eyes of Allah, that you're going to be successful? فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا. And don't yell at them. وَقُلْ لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. Rather address them respectfully. Not just in your words, but in your actions. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He also says, وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ حَمَلَتْهُ أُمُّهُ وَهْنًا عَلَى وَهْنٍ وَفِصَالُهُ فِي عَامَيْنِ أَنِ اشْكُرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيْكَ إِلَيَّ الْمَصِيرُ. And we've commanded people to honor their parents. Their mothers born them through hardship upon hardship, and their weaning takes 2 years. For those of you who have children and who have been through the process of giving birth, whether you're male or female, you'll know how difficult that is. So if you accompanied your wife, I can just talk from personal experience. When my wife was in labor, almost 2 to 3 days, no sleep, extreme pain. No sleep, extreme pain. And she would say to me, you go to sleep, get a few hours sleep, and then I'll wake you up if I need you. So if you're the child who's come about as a result of that birth, you need to realize how difficult it was to give birth to you. Sometimes they have to rip open the tummy of your parents. So they give an injection, they numb everything, they open your mum's tummy with a knife, and they take you out. You think that's easy? You think that really is easy for them to do? And the recovery period for that is weeks, sometimes months, sometimes years. Sometimes by you giving birth, you cause a complication to your mum, so that she becomes incontinent. Sometimes as your head comes out, you cause a big rip, and it goes from the top to the bottom, and they become incontinent, so they leak from down below. You think that's easy? You think that's easy for them to do? That one moment equates to a lifetime of, as they say in Arabic, ala rasi, of, I'm always there for you. And sometimes it needs surgery sometimes for these things to be fixed. Ask any obstetrician or gynecologist here, they'll give you the details. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He talks about this. And by the way, we haven't yet talked about the pregnancy. So pregnancy, some women can get so nauseated, they feel so sick during the pregnancy that they have to go into hospital. And they vomit so much that they get severely dehydrated. And sometimes their kidneys start to fail. All because of you. And you're not even born yet. And then you cause back pain. Some they come with pain in their pelvis, they're walking like this. It's you who've done that to your parents. And you can't even clean up your bedroom. And that's not even talking about when you're born. They spend for you as they spend for themselves. Do you know how expensive it is to raise a child these days? Ask your dad. You want a toy, you want your PlayStation, you want this game, and then you get Fortnite and you want this particular amount of gems on Fortnite to buy this particular weapon, and you have to do this, and oh my God, all my friends have got these things, and then you want that. So they spend on you. Or they don't give you for that, they might not give you money to do that, but they still spend on you, on your education, on your food, on your shelter, to keep you warm, to keep you clothed. Imagine you have to walk around naked. Where's your clothes? Allah gives the provision to us. Your parents are spending that money on you. And you turn around and you say, oh, I hate you. Why? Because they didn't let you play PlayStation. Crazy. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He then also said, وَقُلْ رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. I say, my Lord, have mercy on them, both as they did care for me when I was little. That's the dua you often make. رَبِّ ارْحَمْنِي وَرَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. So just as when I was young, they took care of me, oh Allah, take care of them. So respecting your parents is of great, tremendous importance in Islam. And with it carries great reward in this world and the next. معاذ بن أنس قال وعن معاذ بن أنس قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من بر والديه طوبى له زاد الله عز وجل في عمره. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, blessed is the one who is good to his parents. Allah Almighty will extend his lifespan. So mashallah, those of us who live to our 80s, 90s, 100s, mashallah, perhaps they were very good to their parents. By being good to your parents, whether you are young, whether you are old, Allah will extend in your lifespan. But also the reward is in the hereafter. عن سعيد بن زيد عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال إن هذه الرحم شجنة من الرحمن فمن قطعها حرم الله عليه الجنة. Sa'id ibn Zayd, he said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, that very truly this womb is derived from the most merciful, the name Ar-Rahman. So the Rahim, Ar-Rahman, they come from the same root. Whoever severs its relations, so severs the relations of the womb, Allah will forbid him from entering paradise. What we mean by this is if you cut ties with family members, a'udhu billah, your parents, brother, sister, auntie, uncle, if you cut tie and don't want to speak to you anymore, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forbid you from entering paradise. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forbid you from entering paradise. It's not worth it. You may have had an argument, maybe with your uncle, maybe he did something that you didn't like, and then you got into a heated argument and you don't talk anymore. It's not worth it. Allah will forbid paradise for that person who cuts his ties. Be the one who takes the first step. Be the one who steps down. Your honor is not worth it. Your honor is not worth sacrificing your paradise for. Be the one who says, okay, I'm sorry for what happened. And even if they turn you back, you've done your bit. Don't go and make it worse. But there are some people, subhanAllah, they haven't spoken maybe to a brother for years, a sister for years, and they don't want to reach out. They're the one who are cutting. They're the one who is pushing them away. It's not worth it. And that's just for your siblings. So what about your parents? Even if they embarrassed you when you were in the middle of your wedding, even if they, I don't know, made you lose your job, even if they were the cause of a separation between a man and a wife, it's not worth it. The respect has to be there. To elevate them, you have to be there. If we create more space, please. I said you're going to have to get cozy today. So move, just adjust yourself. If you can stand up, if everybody stands up, just takes a little small step forward so that we can create a few more rows at the back. Okay, so if you take a step forward and then just down again once you've done that.
No, they can't. Don't step forward. Just
and then get tight together, inshallah. So, for those of you who came in late, what we're talking about today is respecting one's parents. And that doesn't mean that the jackpot if you brought all your children here so that they can listen and then learn and then respect you. No, this is for everybody. Whether you're an infant, whether you're a teenager, or whether you're an adult. So in saying that, if you are the adult in the room here, be gentle. عن الغزالي جاء رجل إلى عبد الله بن المبارك رحمه الله يشكو إليه عقوق والديه فسأله ابن المبارك أدعوت عليه؟ قال نعم. قال أنت أفسدته. وقال الغزالي ويستحب الرفق بالبلد. That Imam al-Ghazali, he reported that a man came to a scholar who was named Abdullah ibn Mubarak, who's quite a well-known scholar, and he said, he complained about the disrespect from his son towards him. So Ibn al-Mubarak, the scholar, he asked him, have you made dua against him? So have you supplicated against him? The man said yes. So Ibn al-Mubarak, he said, you've corrupted him. You're the one who's corrupted him. It is recommended to be gentle with children. So if you've got children of your own, put yourself in their shoes. It's quite tough growing up in today's age. It's very different to how you grew up. Your life is all over the internet. Social media, you see everybody's life, you start to compare, you think your life is not as good as everybody else's. Some people get bullied online, some people get bullied in reality. They may have something part of maybe something part of their body that they don't look like and it's affecting them. Be gentle with them. Don't throw a slipper at them every 4th second. Be gentle. Understand where they're coming from. Not everything is achieved by shouting or disciplining or using harsh words. There's a place for being stern with your children. There is a place for that, but that's not. You don't bring up children purely in that way. The final thing that I wanted to end with is just to give you a few ideas, practical ideas of how you can respect. Put away your phone in their presence. There's a guy. So if I give a khutbah, I'm fantastic today. big smiles on your face. MashaAllah, many of you look refreshed, but I've got a phone in my hand. It's not the same way the phone. When it's in your pocket, when it's on the desk, wherever it is, when it's away, it's not something that has greater priority. That if that buzzes, you check it. As you're talking, you're checking it. Apple News gives you a notification that the interest rates have gone down. You check it as you're talking to your parents. There are things that are more important than the phone. So put your phone away. And I guess everyone falls into this, including myself. Put your phone away as a form of that individual. You're giving your whole attention to them. Some people, they're in mid-conversation with their parents, and they're WhatsApping their friends as well. They're just WhatsApping their friends, having a little giggle, talking to them, whilst their parents are talking to them about something important. So put away your phone in their presence. Number 2, just pay attention to what they're saying. When they're talking, listen, but don't just listen carefully, like really listen. Pay attention to everything that they're saying. Learn something new from what they're saying. Even if you've heard it a millionth time, pretend that you've heard it for the first time. They're telling you about a story maybe from their childhood, and you've heard it 45 times, let it be the first time that you hear it again. It makes them feel valued, but also because you genuinely, perhaps you'll pick up something new. Accept their opinions. If you're a teenager here, you might start to be forming your own opinions about stuff, and you might want to start to challenge your parents. Now, there's nothing wrong with having these healthy discussions with parents. That's what they're there for. But at the same time, you don't need to have massive arguments about whether, whether it's right to be doing X, Y, and Z. Whether it's right for you to be going out after 8 p.m. when they tell you it's not the right thing to do. Whether it makes logical sense. Sometimes just accept what they say. And that's what your duty is to your parents, to just say, khalas, that's okay. But similarly, if you're in your 40s, 50s, you've got 3, 4 children, and your parents want you to do something, just accept it. There's no harm in you just stepping down and saying, okay, khalas. And to do that all the time. That's what birr al-walidain, what honouring one's parents looks like in reality. Engage in their conversations. Don't show disinterest in what they're saying. If they're talking to you about something, try and really show try and actively listen to what they're saying through your verbal and non-verbal language. Sometimes you could be listening, but you're not looking. You're down, you're kind of playing around with something on the table, or you're fiddling with your fingers. Forget all of that. Concentrate on the person in front of you. For those of you who are involved in jobs where you're communicating with people, one of the first things that they tell you to do is they teach you is about your non-verbal communication. In other words, imagine you're talking to when you go to see, your doctor, and the doctor's on the computer and you're telling them about a headache and they don't even bother turning around, it makes a difference. It makes you think that they're not even listening. If you forget the computer and you turn to them and you nod your head, you kind of use, maybe a bit of hand gestures to empathize with them, that patient feels a lot more valued. So similarly with your parents, if they're talking to you and you're just on the computer or on your laptop or your phone and they're talking to you, it gives them the impression that you're not listening, you don't care. So engage in their conversation and look at them with respect. I'll give a couple more here. Number 7, praise them. Many of you know, as people grow, their faculties aren't as strong, maybe their memories start to fade, their physical strength starts to fade, their ability to do things start to fade. So they then start to self-admonish. They start to lose self-esteem. They think that they're not as valuable as who they are. So be your parents' biggest supporter. Encourage them. Motivate them. Praise them. Tell them that they're doing really good. Even if you think that they're not doing good, put that to one side. Tell them that they are. Build them up. Don't knock them down. Don't always... So I've met people, they're moaning about their parents quite a lot in the absence of their parents. Don't be that person. Don't be the person who always complains about their parents. Oh God, they're so slow. Every time we park the car, it takes us 20 minutes just to get to the door of Tesco. Don't be the person who does that. Build them up in their presence and outside of their presence. Finally, there are so many things here, but finally I will say make dua for them. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to lift them, praise them, elevate them. Even if your parents have passed away, you can still make dua for them. You can still ask Allah to forgive them. One of the good deeds that continues to benefit the dead is the walad salih, is this righteous, is the pious son. So for your mum and dad, if they've passed away, make dua that Allah forgives them every day. Don't let a day pass that you've forgotten them. So in summary, I encourage you all, whether you're 5, 15, 50, 70, to always honor your parents. Remember them, praise them, smile at them, and remember them in goodness. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله ثم الحمد لله نحمده ونستعين به ونستهديه ونسترشده ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا تجد له وليا مرشدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات المسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها فنعم المولى ونعم المصير. اللهم اغفر لوالدينا وارحمهما كما ربيانا صغيرا والحمد لله رب العالمين وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. هي الصلاة هي الصلاة.